our first lesson on web development. So I'll be showing us how to get started with JavaScript in this first lesson. Without wasting much of our time, let's get started. First thing first, we need to have a folder. The essence of having the folder is to organize our files, our JavaScript files, all right? So I'll right click to make a folder new and I'll go for folder. So I'll give it a name, web dev, this way. I've saved it. So second of all, we need to open our Visual Studio Code so that we can open the web dev folder. I mean the folder we just created. We just need to open it inside VS Code. So mine automatically opened there. So if your own didn't automatically open there, what you just need to do is to click on File, scroll down to Open Folder, you click on Open Folder, you go back to your desktop and then locate that file in particular. So mine is web dev. You click on Select Folder button. So automatically this opens. So when this opens, we'll cross out the welcome page and my AI agent is still open. So I'll close it off just like that. So I need to create a JavaScript file in my Explorer. I click on this place. I'll give it a name, index.js, and I'll save it. So I just did. So that's that. So one thing we also need to do again is to go to your marketplace, your extension, and then install, let me show you, Code Runner. Install this extension, Code Runner. So you just need to search Code Runner on this search button and then hit install. So when you install it successfully, you should see this play button on the top right. So that's what we'll be using to run our code for now. All right. So I just need to close back this place. So, and I hit Ctrl B to close that particular place so that I can have enough space to work with. Now, in my JavaScript file, in JavaScript, there are what we call variables. So we need to understand what variables are and how to declare variables. So variables are like containers that we use to store value. A container that we use to store value. So in order to make this variable, there are certain keywords, about 3 of them that are needed to make variables, though you use them independently. All right. So what are these 3 keywords? So basically, these 3 words are these 3 keywords are let, we have const, and we have var. These are the 3 keywords we use to declare variables. So how do we use them to declare variables? So I'm going to make a comment. I'm going to make a comment so that to get rid of the errors. So you highlight, do control and forward slash. That is how you comment on JavaScript code, you highlight and do your forward slash. Now, to declare a variable with the let keyword, you first of all type the keyword, which is let, followed by the name of the variable. Now, the name of my variable can be fruits. So, when making variables, they shouldn't start with numbers nor special characters. It should be non-numerical characters. That's text, all right? So that's that. So now, when you've declared your variable, you need to assign a value to the variable. So you can do your equal sign. Now, in this case, you might see this sign as equal sign, but not necessarily an equal sign. This is called an assignment operator. Assignment operator. Use it to assign values to variables. All right. So having done this, you can put any value of your choice. Now in this case, I added orange, right? So you end with a semicolon. So on this line, what we just did is to declare a variable. The variable we declared here is called fruit, and we assign the value which is orange to it. So basically, this is how you declare a variable and you assign a value to it. So let's see how we can declare a variable with const. Now, const means constant. You usually use const when you know that the value of the variable won't change over time. That's when you use constant, all right? So we can say const, we can say an instance. What is something that is constant? We can just say that x in this case is constant. It means that the value of this x won't change over time. It will permanently remain 264. We will never change the value of x. So we've declared a variable called an x and assigned 264 to it using const. So that's that. So the last one on the list is var. So when you use your var keyword, you provide the name of the variable. In this case, I can say var, I can say color, and I assigned red to it. So all of these three keywords, you use them to declare variables, all right? So you just need to use them whenever you want. So, but for the rest of this course, we'll be using let frequently. We'll only use const when needed, all right? So this is how you declare your variables using the three keywords called let, const, and var. So that is that. So I'm going to wipe off this place. Now, having learned how to declare a variable, I can say color and I assign pink to this. Now, do you actually know that you can declare a variable and assign a value to it later? What do I mean? I said let's color. Now, I can just do something like let's f name So fname in this case means first name, all right? I can just end it like this. So if you take a proper look at these two things I have here, so on the first line, I declared a variable called color, and at the same time, I assigned a value to the variable, right? On the third line, I also declared a variable, but I didn't assign any value to it. So these are two separate things: declaring a variable and assigning a value to it, and declaring a variable without assigning a value to it. So something like this happens. So you can come down to a new line and call back the variable, which is fname, and later assign whatsoever thing you want to give to it. So like this, something like this is valid. All right. So you can do it whether with let, whether with const, whether with var. It's totally up to you. All right. So that's that. In summary, what I've said is we can declare a variable and assign a value to it, and you can also declare a variable, later assign a value to it. So I will clean everything I have here. Now, when I declare a variable called color and maybe assign red or assign a value, I don't get to come under here to declare another variable with same name. I don't do this. This is totally wrong. Don't do this. It means we are declaring same variable twice, which is a very big mistake, a very big error. In fact, this is a red flag. You don't do it. It's not done. All right? We don't do this. We don't use let again to redeclare that same variable. All right? But you can reassign the value of that variable. Like I have color already. I can call back color and reassign the value. So maybe green. This is valid. So what we did here is on the first line, we declared a variable called color and we reassigned the value. We assigned a value to a thread, and on line number 2, we called that same variable and changed its value from being red to green. We can prove this. Now, to read this, we need to, there is something called console.log. So we usually use this to troubleshoot and read, and also to read values. So when I say color here, what is color? Color is simply this variable I declared. Now you also need to end this with semicolon. Now when we run this code on this thing that looks like a play button, so when you run it, it gives us green. How did green come about? Now that is because we later changed the value of color which was set to red to green. Basically, that is why we are getting it. So if I change this to pink and run the code again, I get what? Pink. That is how that works. All right. So we use console.log and we put the name of the variable inside the two brackets. So that's how it works. So apart from also putting variables into console.log, we can as well put random text. How do I mean? I could just say console.log. I'll say my name is goodness. So when I run this code and I scroll down, you can see I get the second value. My name is goodness. So that's how it works. All right. So I'm just going to drag this down a bit and permit me to clear off everything I have here. Now, before I said if we have let color, we assign a variable, maybe red, to it, and I come down and say let color again equals to pink. Now I told you that this is not done. In fact, it's a red flag. When I do console.log and I come to put color inside the brackets and I run this code, let's see what the result is. So when we scroll, you see we'll get an error, a syntax error that says identifier color has been has already been declared, and plenty other errors below. So that is why I said this doesn't work. But you could just get rid of let and run your code. It runs freely without errors. That is that. So I'll wipe this off again. Now, but that same thing we learned that let color will assign pink to it and let color will assign orange to it. This doesn't work, but when we are using var as a keyword when declaring variables, say I have x, I'll say x is equal to 23, and I have var x again, will assign 24 to it. And we'll say console.log x. Now, I just need to comment on this. So I highlight and do control// and I run this code. You find out that I've gotten 24. Now, my code ran without errors. So the question here is, how does this run, or how does this compile without errors, but this throws an error? Now, the thing here is, when you are using let, there are theories or there are laws guiding let, what it can do and what it can't do. So when you are using let keyword, it means that variables declared with let cannot be redeclared. Redeclaring a variable, I mean, is having a variable and you are also using let to repeat that same variable. All right, it doesn't work. But with var, when you declare a variable, you can also redeclare that same variable like we did, and also reassign the value of that variable. So we declared x to be 23, and on line number 6, we redeclared it and then changed the value from being 23 to 24. So that's redeclaring a variable and reassigning the variable value. But with let, we can we can only reassign a value, but we can't redeclare. So we can only call color and change color, from being pink to what? Orange. Hope that's clear, right? So I will make a comment on this because I will come back to it later. So another guideline that we also need to take to the bank is that of const. When I have a variable declared with const, so const, like I said, means constant. So one thing with const is you cannot redeclare, either can you reassign the value. What I mean is you can't say const key again, right? And you put maybe a different value. This is not done. This ain't done. Because if I say console.log and put key and run this code and scroll down, you can see I have an error that says identifier key has already been declared. Now that is to say I was trying to redeclare key again. Now how about I try to reassign the value of key? So when I also run the code and scroll down, you see it doesn't even, wow, there's a problem. Okay, now it doesn't even give me anything. It means that I tried to change the value of key, which was formerly 23834836 blah 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 and blah to something new. You see, it doesn't work. So these are the things you need to have in mind when declaring variables. All right. So that is that for this video. In lesson 2, we will try to talk about data types. What I mean by data types is, if you take a look at, let me uncomment these things. If you take a good look at this value, there is a quote. There is a quote on pink, and same quotes happen to appear on orange. But if you check these guys, there is no quote on 23, neither do we have any quotes on 24. So in lesson number 2, we'll talk or we'll explain why this guy has a quote and this guy doesn't have any quotes, and why we didn't put any quotes here. Meanwhile, we can also have something like console.log. Inside there, I can say my name is good next. So we'll talk about how these things came about. So until then,